Good morning, everyone. I'm Rosal Lim, and allow me to share what I've experienced in this cohort. Rurungan Tubod Foundation in 1999 began as a traditional NGO started by a housewife, my nanay, in Palawan. With zero experience in community development and a giant heart, she rallied together like-minded people to fund this project and run a livelihood workshop in weaving. She was determined to help establish a sustainable source of income for women in farming and fishing communities. In the first year of running the program, the founders slowly realized that in order to create a true holistic change, they had to ensure sustainability by driving consumer interest not only for the new textile community they built in Palawan, but for the traditional textile industry as a whole. Rurungan evolved organically. It was built on the intention of empowering women through livelihood while growing according to the needs of the community that we were bringing together. Slowly, it transformed into a hybrid enterprise where housewives became designers, weavers became leaders in their community, and our foundation started learning about branding, marketing, and sales. Together in the path for sustainability, we built social enterprises through the brands of Tipina, Binalkay, and Kalakal, which produced artisanal pieces from plant, textile to finished product and bridged the gaps between Palawan artisans and the local market. I am a product of generation of changemakers who believe that education, empowerment, and women are the key figures in building a community. They were my family, my friends, and the ates, titas, and lolas of Rurungan. This project was my nanay's pride and joy. Our lunchtime conversation were about new designs, new ideas, new materials. Our milestones for the organization were the weavers that were able to send their kids to school, daughters that wanted to learn weaving during the summer, and children who wrote their thesis on their mother's crafts. This was not just an added value to our life. This was our life. When you see that you can improve people's lives by teaching them how to help themselves, how can you step away? Well, when you're raised in Palawan and you work in Palawan and you dream with Palawan, sometimes it can feel like a bubble. I left Palawan with the intention of seeing what the rest of the world had to offer. But the more I learned from university, the more I found myself reimagining the foundation's operations. The more people I met who were doing brilliant things all over the Philippines, the more ideas for Palawan came up. So after university, I came home. And a greater lesson was in store for me as I continued to find an education in other people. With a borrowed pickup truck and roughly drawn maps, I ventured into the south of where of the skill and potential beholden to them. And I made it my personal mission to continue Rurungan's work in people empowerment through livelihood and development. Rurungan is a Palauan term that describes the hut where the women gather to work. Today, our Rurungan is filled with 100 artisans of textile, banig, and basket weaving, traditional wood carvers, furniture makers, who are pushing the boundaries of design through product development while safekeeping traditional knowledge by creating community-centered, community-based research on indigenous craft, material, and people, which are passed on to our artisans' children, empowering artisans that change can come from things that they already know. When COVID-19 hit, plans to grow our project came to an abrupt halt. Dreams of the future were put on hold, and the question of growth became a question of survival. The livelihood and health of not only 100 of our artisans, but a large percentage of our population was at stake. Thankfully, with a big push from a great friend and mentor, Amy Swanepoel, from Roots of Health, and a fellow, I was encouraged to apply for this program, Ashoka, Women Together for a Better Normal. This took me out of the dark corner of my room and gave me the energy to re-engage with the rest of the world. Being in the presence of such a diverse group of social entrepreneurs and a chance to go through crisis management sessions has helped me regain my energy and rally my team. Doors began to open. Simultaneously, while taking the sessions, we were awarded a grant for the youth-led digital pivot, which allowed us to distribute cell phones and health kits to our community leaders and transport weaving equipment out of our workshops and into their homes so that they could continue production. The phones were assigned to the eldest studying child in the household, who is now assigned to communicate all things craft-related and health-related to me. This has facilitated knowledge transfer between the more digitally savvy youth and the keepers of traditional craft. By utilizing the grant money and our directory of small enterprises, we were able to engage with 4 small enterprises for locally produced soap, mosquito repellent, face masks, and tote bags to complete our health kits, making sure to utilize and support local assets to be part of our solution. I think the biggest value that this program is teaching us is that we aren't alone. It teaches us that around the world, there are organizations like us facing the same problems. We need each other in order to persevere. Being able to relate to organizations like Marawi Collectible by Salika Maguindanao and conflict, Veronica Baguio's bravery in starting Balik Batik in the time that she is needed the most has extinguished every excuse I had for not. Being able to share ideas with Ro of Virtualahan, listening to how Tita Eva of Accessory Wheels and PW Events and Ina of AHA Behavioral Designs mobilized through the pandemic, learning about Cherie's experience in humanitarian aid, made me feel that despite the fact that we worked in such different ways, that we were in this together, which I think captures the true essence of Ashoka. COVID-19 exposed systemic problems around the world. And as change makers, we've already set out to challenge the system even before the pandemic. This is what makes our work all the more valuable today. For the longest time, I thought that we had to fit into a mold of what a social enterprise is. But what I realized when I was trying to navigate through this pandemic, which was galvanized further by my experience with Ashoka, is that there is no mold. We are called change makers because we are here to change something, to make things better, to challenge norms. And that's scary. This Ashoka cohort made me a little more comfortable to be in this position. I started working in Rurungan when I was around 16 years old. I was absorbed by the company when I was 20. Growing up in an environment of change makers, the smartest thing to do is take a step back, watch, listen, and ask, because there's so much to learn. This experience, coupled by the pandemic, made me realize that I had something to say too. That while empowering others, I've been empowered as well. Entering in Mindanao, I remember meeting an elderly woman who told us of her humble beginnings as a weaver. After saving some money, she built a buy and sell shop and retired her loom. When the siege hit, she pulled her loom out from her storage and began to weave again. And that in times of crisis, she knew she could go back to weaving. And I brought that statement home to me ever since. Now many weavers who have learned how to weave with us and went out to explore other opportunities have come back to seek refuge under our Rurungan. And for as long as we can, our doors will stay open to them. I am proud to say that Ashoka did not only teach me frameworks in the cohort and in my organization as well, and made me reflect on my organization. In between all the classes, to become rurungancollective.com, and that we will be online during the first week of November. We will make products from our creative communities available first to the Philippines and then to the rest of the world. In my work with Binhi sa Rurungan, with my co-founder Gia, we educate consumers to continue to support communities like us who run businesses for people and planet. So today, I humbly ask this audience and my fellow cohorts to do the same. Buy local and just coffee. Support local farmers by purchasing from your local palengke or by getting vegetable subscriptions. If you're looking for clothes or gifts during the holidays, look to support social enterprises like Rurungan Collective, Anthill, Balikpatik, Maranao Collectible, Indie, and so many more within the cohort and all around the Philippines. When I was growing up, Palawan felt like a bubble. During the COVID-19 pandemic, I felt even more isolated. But Ashoka made me realize that we are connected more than ever, reaching markets we wouldn't have been able to pre-pandemic. And as we pivot and problem solve together, let us continue to strengthen these relationships and support each other because we are in this together for a better normal. Thank you.